Fear, sadness, anger, and anxiety are just a few of the emotions you might feel if you've just been diagnosed with cancer. Hi, I'm Lori, nationally certified personal trainer and health coach. This is my sister Sherry. She is a 6-year stage 4 lung cancer survivor.
Hi, and welcome everyone. Thanks for being here.
Please like and subscribe. That helps us out so much. We need to get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible, so please do that. Now, today we're going to talk about the emotional toll that a cancer diagnosis takes on someone who's been diagnosed with cancer, but also on their family. We mentioned in another video where we talk about Sherry's initial diagnosis that my mother was diagnosed with cancer when you were 12 and I was about 18. And so we'll link that video up so you can go look at that. So we understand that side, the emotional toll that takes on a family, and that is rough, but also on the family. So Sherry, just tell us, like when you first found out, when the doctor first said to you, you have lung cancer, what was the initial feeling?
I mean, being diagnosed, it's such an emotional roller coaster ride. But when you're first diagnosed, at least when I was first diagnosed, I was misdiagnosed originally with Lyme's disease. And I was getting treatment that wasn't helping me. I was getting sicker and sicker. So when I got diagnosed with cancer, I was like, I knew I had something. So I was not happy I was diagnosed with cancer, but I was happy that I got a diagnosis of something that was real. And I was going to be getting treatment that was going to help me now instead of something that was not helping me at all because I didn't have Lyme's disease. So, it was shocking because lung cancer, who would have thought that I would have lung cancer? I led a very healthy life. I thought I was doing all the right things to prevent ever getting any type of cancer. We watched my mother die when we were young. So we did everything we could to prevent having cancer.
Including not smoking, okay? Including not smoking. So this is if you haven't watched our original video, she has a different kind of lung cancer that has nothing to do with smoking. It's something that is gene driven. So watch that video if you're more interested in the type of cancer she has. But she had been going to other doctors that had told her that she had Lyme disease, and you spent like $10,000 years this thing or what, trying to figure this out. So I guess there was a little bit of relief. I do remember you kind of feeling that relief when the doctor told you that, and he thought maybe you were a little bit in denial, your first oncologist.
Yeah, because I was very optimistic that I was going to do well. I said, I think I'm going to do okay with treatment. And his mouth kind of just fell open because lung cancer does not have a good prognosis typically. So I think he just kind of looked at me like, I don't think you know lung cancer.
Right. And you didn't. I mean, truthfully.
Right.
And
I didn't.
Maybe there was a little bit of denial. I mean, who knows?
Right.
And, I'm guessing, you can tell us in the comments, but I bet a lot of you probably went, especially if you're under 50, say, and the doctors aren't looking for cancer right off the bat for people that are teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, right? They are suspecting. Because I've seen in your ALK positive group where, especially if you're under 50, they're going, oh, you have pneumonia. Oh, you're having asthma, allergies. And they might
a year sometimes people are going undiagnosed.
Yes, because who thinks that someone who's 35 that's never smoked has lung cancer, right? Who thinks that? But it does happen, right? It does happen. So that's not uncommon. So that was Sherry's initial reaction. A family is going to have a different reaction because obviously we're different people. So when Sherry told me that they had diagnosed her with lung cancer, especially when I found out it was stage 4, what do you do? And we're going to start Googling. And even though doctors will don't Google, don't do this. So I started looking, and we did not understand at the time that she had a different kind of lung cancer.
My biopsy had not come back.
Right. Yet. And that takes what? Like how long from?
Oh, for me, it took a long time. For me, it took almost a month.
A month.
That's not how it is now, though. Things have changed.
So it took a while. So we didn't know. I thought she had lung, and we're thinking like, how in the world does this happen? But she was 48 at the time. And I was looking up the statistics, and a 5-year for regular people that have smoked their lung cancer. 5 years is not good. I mean, maybe 12%. Don't hold me to that, but I believe like their 5-year survival is something like 12%. It's very grim. And I remember thinking, well, I hope she makes it to 50 at least, because your son was how old at the time? Maybe 6. Was she 16? No.
Oh, when I was diagnosed,
Yeah.
he was 18.
Okay, he was 18. And I thought, well, if he can at least make it to 20. That's what I was saying. I was more worried about her child because he had special needs. And I thought, oh my gosh, who's going to take care of him? And how's this going to work? So I was like, oh, I hope she makes it to 50. I mean, this is what I was really thinking. Hope she makes it to 60. And on top of that, you get a feeling that of hopelessness and helplessness because there's nothing that we can do. And I'm sure that people that are diagnosed with cancer feel this helpless feeling because there's nothing you can do. It's all in the hands of these other people, these experts, and you just don't know. So it's a very hopeless and helpless feeling. And I felt that with my mother too. I remember feeling helpless, hopeless, and that's how I felt. And I remember not eating well, not sleeping well, Googling. And my other sister.
You did a lot of research.
Yeah, I did a lot of research. And my other sister felt the same way. We have a very young, much younger sister. Mm-hmm. And she
had a really hard time.
She did. She's very overly emotional, overly sensitive to some degree to something. So that's how we handled that. So after the initial kind of shock wore off, you have your biopsy. Things are you've got a plan. It seems to me like because Sherry had been trying to be so healthy most of the time, it seems like you went through like an angry stage, almost resentful, a little bit angry, like why me?
I'm not so much why me, but maybe why me, but I had really been so healthy. I mean, I used to take handfuls of supplements. Remember, my medicine cabinet was not medicine, it was supplements.
And eat well.
And I ate so well. It had to be organic, wild caught. I mean, I was so particular about my fruits and vegetables, happened to be all organic. I never drank soda. I mean, if I did, it was on the rarest occasions. Fast food, never. If I was traveling, maybe. I mean, I said, what in the world have I been eating like this for and taking all these supplements? And
yes.
I got so angry and I said, forget it. I'm no longer going to eat like this. I am throwing all of that out the window and I'm just going to eat however I want. I am just going to take care of myself. I was going to throw it all out and I'm just going to do whatever I want, eat however I want. If I don't want to exercise. And I said that to you and you said, now, wait a minute. Why in the world would you do that? You are not protecting the rest of your body. Don't you want the rest of your body? You don't want your other organs to suffer. You probably kept the rest of your body really healthy to deal with this cancer, that you've got. So,
well, and you know what I think about people that are really healthy and they get cancer. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it like, well, what the hell was the point of that? I did all the right things and now I have cancer. But what if you hadn't? What if you hadn't? Would you have gotten cancer 10 years earlier? Maybe.
Or how would I have felt?
Or how would I have
dealt with the side effects were really rough on the first drug.
Right.
I can't imagine how bad they would have been if I was dealing with a sick body from not taking care of myself.
Yes.
Or because I had no muscle or.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's always better to be healthy than not healthy, always, even if you get cancer or any other disease. That's just my take on that as a health coach and a personal trainer.
For sure.
So you go through the anger stage, which I'm assuming that's really common. I just have to assume that's super common, anger stage, denial. So once you're on treatment and your doctor I remember your oncologist said to you, I cannot give you any kind of prognosis. Yeah, I remember you said that. He's like, there is no prognosis. We're just going to keep on going with this thing.
Right.
Because he wasn't going to say you're going to die in a year or 2 years or 10 years. He just doesn't know.
One thing he did say to me, he said, stop with the anxiety. He said, why would you live your life like that? And I didn't know at the time, but his wife actually had breast cancer. So he was dealing with at home with someone who had cancer, and she actually did pass away. So he was seeing it firsthand, what it was like living with someone with cancer who was dying. So I think he was just telling me, life is short. Don't live your life with all this anxiety. Just live your life to the fullest. Because he knew I was like so anxious about everything.
Yeah, I do remember you saying that.
Yeah.
So you get your diagnosis, you're on a plan, and the particular drug that she was on in the first, 3 years? Alectinib.
Yeah.
She was on a drug called alectinib, and it has some side effects that are not so amazing as you would. It's not for you people that don't have cancer. There are targeted treatments, and then there's chemo and radiation, like you think of. Just because it's a little pill that you take doesn't mean it is not extremely harsh. So tell me about, I know you got depressed a little bit and feeling like crap.
Yeah, and that was 8 pills a day to begin with, and that I just kept having to reduce. And yeah, it was terrible. There were days I couldn't get out of bed. My body, it felt like lifting lead, like my legs were like lead. It was so heavy. They hurt so bad. And I actually had to go off of it for some time to let my body recover. My liver enzymes were really elevated. I was swollen. I lost like 7 pounds of just water when I went off of it for a week. I was incredibly fatigued. It was terrible. And it actually caused depression in me. I was very depressed.
Yes. So it wasn't just physical. It was
causing some
side
mental
effects.
problems. Yeah.
And I remember you and I talked about, she was kind of going through this when Alec Trebek, I'm sure you all know that he died of pancreatic cancer a couple of years ago, but he had been dealing with it for 2 or 3 years. He actually lived quite a long time for someone that was his age that had pancreatic cancer. But he talked about just feeling so depressed because his life wasn't what it was. You're going from a normal to a new normal that isn't so amazing.
And you want your old normal back. Like you are always trying to figure out how to get your old normal back, but it's never going to happen. You have a new normal now.
That's part of acceptance.
Yeah.
This is what it is. It's the new normal. Kind of like maybe when you have a baby or some other huge life-changing thing. This is just what it is, and it's not going to get better. And I think that's,
well, I don't know about not going to get better. It's just going to be different, and you have to find what is better.
No, I mean better isn't back to normal.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to go back to normal. It's not going to get better that way.
Right.
Acceptance is the key. I mean, I think, but that takes a while. And I don't think you should feel bad about that if you can't come to that acceptance right away. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't, you see these.
It's phases. It's all phases that you go through. Yeah.
Yes, it's phases. And when you can get to the point, I think, where you can accept that this is the new you, whatever that is at that time, I think the better off, probably the quicker the depression lifts.
And you can't beat yourself up because you're not there yet. I mean,
no,
it's just
absolutely
phase,
not.
And you just have to say, I will get there when I get there. This isn't a race.
Right.
It's just being easy with yourself and knowing that this is happening to me and I will get there when I get there. You don't ever want to stay in a dark place for too long. That's where you've got to definitely get a mental health counselor, or therapist. You don't want to stay anywhere too dark.
Now, here's an emotion that you might think is odd, but she had some level of embarrassment. And you just tell me about that. Why did you feel like embarrassed about it?
Well, I'm from Colorado. And now I live at sea level, and I was traveling back to Colorado, and breathing is not so easy when you're living at sea level and you're going back to such a high elevation. And the Denver airport is huge. Their security line is huge. I needed a wheelchair. I was having a very difficult time breathing. And to me, like, I just felt like, that was a weak point, needing a wheelchair. I felt embarrassed. Like, people are going to be looking at me like, what's wrong with her? Why? She looks normal. Why is she in a wheelchair? She's taking up a wheelchair that somebody who's got a physical,
like you're lazy or something.
Yeah, like I'm lazy. Yeah. And so I was incredibly embarrassed. But then once I realized, okay, I couldn't have made it through this airport without this wheelchair. This actually helped me. I needed it. And I have stage 4 cancer. I deserve this wheelchair. So.
Yeah. So you just, yeah, that's true. But that's not something that the rest of us who are just walking around really think about. And honestly, let's be real here. Who really cares, right? I mean, was it more important for her to not be embarrassed or go to Colorado and have a great time with her family and friends?
Right.
What makes more sense?
And I'll do it again. If I need a wheelchair, I will do it again. If
Yeah,
I'm having
exactly.
a hard time and I'm struggling, and I did just do it recently, actually. I was very sick. I was struggling. I had to get a wheelchair again at an airport.
That's fine.
And I wasn't as embarrassed the second time.
Yeah, I can see that. So I think one of the biggest emotions that patients and caregivers get is the anxiety around the diagnosis and then the disease itself, and then the follow-up to see how you're doing, right? Everybody in your whole family, your loved ones, yourself is going to feel anxiety. And
sure.
you were like anxiety, huge anxiety. We have a video where we talk about cancer scans and anxiety. So I'll link that above or link it in the description, one of the two. So this was one of your biggest hurdles. This might have been bigger than the anger, bigger than the depression, bigger than the embarrassment, was the anxiety.
Well, I have a son who's got special needs. So I was so torn about how do I come to terms with having this illness, and what is going to happen with my son? What's going to happen when I die? What do I do?
Or when you're just too sick.
When I'm too sick.
Going through treatments, the whole thing.
Or how do I manage him? How do I take care of him? How do I take care of me? Like, it was creating so much anxiety.
And his father is involved in his life, but he lives 1,000 miles away. So his father isn't right here. Even though she has a partner, he doesn't have any legalities with her son. So that's kind of was her extra special little.
Right. I pretty much took care of him by myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So
that
it created a lot of anxiety. I mean, that was huge. So.
And your family's going to have, if you're the cancer patient watching, your family's going to have anxiety too. And hopefully they try to keep that under control when they're around you so it doesn't make it worse, but you might have people in your life that can't control their anxiety, around you. And that makes it worse, for you. And I know sometimes, I don't know if you felt this way, Sherry, because I've never asked you this before, but I have seen people that feel like they're a burden to their family. They also feel anxiety about being a burden to their spouse or to their children or whatever. There's some anxiety around feeling like a burden.
After a couple of years, I was like, I have to back off on not too much talk about the cancer. I was like, I need to definitely keep this with that's what my therapist is for. That's what I see her for. This is what she's helping me with. It's like I can talk about it here and there with my family, but I didn't want to make it this is not their journey so much. Like I knew in small increments is better.
And I agree with her 100% because if she's not talking about it, then we can feel more normal. And if we act more normal, she's going to feel more normal.
Right.
And so that we can get together, we try to get together once a year with my other sisters and a cousin we have and our husbands. And we try, we don't always make it, but we try to get together. And if she's talking about it, then we're going to be talking about it. And then it's going to be a weird, not that she can't talk about it. We all know that.
Have no need because I have support groups and I have a therapist and I'm really immersed myself.
And that way we can all just have a good time. And then that in turn is going to make her feel so much better, knowing that we're all just having a good time and actually normal no matter what. And plus everyone else has their own cross to bear. You don't know what's going on in other people's private lives either. So, and the one last thing we'll do a part 2 on this if we need to, if we feel like we have more to talk about. But I think the last thing that we want to talk about is that no matter what stage you're in, no matter where you're at in the journey, it's okay. That's okay. And I don't think you should let anyone else, whether that's a therapist or your family or even yourself, friends, anyone else give you toxic positivity, trying to move it like it's going to be okay, trying to move
Think
you along.
positive. Just think positive. You're okay.
Yes.
Like positive thinking is just going to make everything okay.
Yes. And them trying to do little platitudes on you, and you might run across that. And we'll probably do a whole video on toxic positivity because it's such a problem. And it's mostly people trying to soothe themselves.
Right. It makes you feel better.
But
Like,
it might make you...
because they're scared. Honestly, they're probably more scared about it.
Yeah, they have anxiety about it.
Right.
Or they don't want to talk about it or whatever. So don't let that make you feel like, wow, I'm just a loser. I just can't seem to move along.
I must not be
Yeah.
positive enough.
Yeah, because you do see people, and you will see them here on YouTube. We have watched Dr. Dan. He has since passed. But if you ever watch Dr. Dan, so positive, so full of energy. And if you're not feeling like that, that's okay. And maybe when the camera's turned off, he didn't always feel like that either. And, you know, Sherry might be smiling right now, but we don't know now. She did just have her scans, and she's doing really well. So this is great, but it won't always be like that. And she knows that she's going to have challenges because everybody with stage 4 cancer ends up having some challenges. But today it's great because now she has another 4 months of feeling good. So we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. We appreciate you watching, and remember, like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.